What's up, farmer family? How y'all doing? Guess what's back on the list? The Ronbus Ripple V2s. There's a difference though. There's no V3 current or R3 coming out right now. The only thing they have coming out is the R1, which is the elongated, the R2, which would be the standard, and then the R4, which is a hybrid shape. They finally have a hybrid shape. It is about time. But yeah, I have a discount code for this company. It's FarmerPB. If you use that at checkout, you will get $20 off. I do want to get into how these play compared to the older version and some of the other stuff that's currently on the market. But yeah, let's get into this, y'all. They also have an accelerated break-in testing machine, and they tested it with 1,000 power hits with 160 mile per hour impact, and they still measured below the PB COR of 0.43 before and after the testing, which is a really good sign in terms of break-in, which means it's probably not going to break in much at all. So this is called a 4th generation core called the Fire, and what it is these columns of EVA foam that is essentially wrapped by carbon fiber, and they're calling it a lattice, and that's what this paddle's core is made out of. And it's not like your typical polypropylene, and it's not going to feel anything like the polypropylene honeycomb paddles that are currently out on the market. Okay, so when it comes to the pop and the power of these, I kind of want to talk about them in a category together and then slightly separate. So I'm going to talk about the pop. These are currently some of the poppiest paddles that are currently on the market. Not exactly as poppy as the mod, definitely not as poppy as the mod. And I would also say this is not as poppy as the original beta version. It is right down below it, so it's not like a crazy drastic drop off. And this has a hollow, almost muted feel to it, a little more so than the beta version did. And when it came to the overall power of these paddles, I would say if you're comparing the R1 version of the Ripple with the new Perseus Pro 4, I would say due to the plow through, the head heaviness of the Pro Perseus, I would put it more powerful overall than the R1 Ripple. But there's not many below that that are going to be more powerful than the R1 Ripple is. I would put it firmly at number 2 currently on the list of paddles that are going to be, legal all the way through 2025. And when it comes to the R2 and the R4, they are way up there at the very top in terms of power for their categories for standard and hybrid shape paddles. So when it comes to control, there's a lot of different, factors that people, factor into control. I've talked to people that are like, man, these are so controllable. You literally just put the paddle down and it puts the ball back over the net perfectly with you. But then I also see people that are saying that also hit dinks and drops that are, selling really high, and that's part of control too. So is this paddle controllable? Not really until you play with it for a while. This is one of the most poppy paddles on the market. That comes with the, territory. If you have a crazy poppy paddle, more than likely it's not going to be like this crazy control wizard. Just know if you play with this, you're going to have to, devote time to it, not switch paddles, and really, really focus when it comes to resets and blocks and drops and dinks. Anything like drives and serves, yeah, just swing away. You're going to be able to get enough power with this, and as speed ups, you're going to get enough pop. Just know the control is the only part of this paddle that's kind of lacking. When it came to the RPMs, the R1 got 2,130 RPMs, the R2 got 2,144, and the R4 got 2,178. Like I say with most of these paddles, these pill ply process paddles are most of them going to do exactly what you need them to do in terms of top spin, slice, everything. So I wouldn't even bother about that. This is probably the most important part of the video, unless you're getting into like a different surface face that's not been used, that's outside of pill plot or, the paint grit, because the paint grit's really good at the beginning, but it wears off quicker. So yeah, you're going to get what you need out of it spin wise. When it came to the swing weights, the R1 swing weight was 122, the R2 swing weight was 114, and the R4 swing weight was 118. Okay, all of these are a little high in terms of swing weights for their, respective categories. You have some elongated paddles that are coming in like 118, 120, and this one's 122. And then you've got the standard shape that's over the 110 mark. So it's starting to get closer to the hybrid shape. And then you have the R4 that's a hybrid that's getting closer to the elongated shape. These are definitely somewhat heavier than some of the other paddles that are currently in the market in terms of swing weight. But overall, I still don't think it's going to be a crazy drastic change unless you're having to add lead tape, and some people will definitely want to with these. And when it came to the R2 and the R4's weight, they weighed 8 ounces right out of the box, and the R1 weighed 8.1 ounces right out of the box. So they're all pretty close to 8 ounces. And when it came to the balance points, the R1's balance point was 246, the R2's balance point was 236, and the R4's balance point was 242. Now, when it comes to the twist weight of the R1 was 5.78, the twist weight of the R2 was 6.47, and the twist weight of the R4 was 5.84. This is where I'm talking about a lot of people are probably going to have to add lead tape, and it's probably going to push that specific paddle that you're used to playing out of your swing weight range. So with this paddle, I don't know, it's in a weird position because you need a little bit of lead tape, but if you do it, it's going to mess with the swing weight. So what I did was I played with the R4 and the R2 the most, and I just played them stock. I played with the R1 a little bit. I felt like it needed lead tape more than the R2 and the R4 did. I felt like I could make do with the R2 and the R4, although the R4 is definitely my favorite out of the 3 shapes, which is really surprising considering I figured I would want to go back to the standard R2 like I did with the FX Pulsar. But in terms of sweet spots, the sweet spots aren't really massive on these. I would say for the R2, it is definitely a little bit smaller of a sweet spot compared to some of the other standard shapes on the market. Same would go with the R4 compared to other hybrid shapes. And then when you get down to the R1, you've got the smallest sweet spot out of all of them. I don't feel like it's like crazy, crazy bad. You could theoretically play with it without lead tape, but I feel like a little bit of lead tape is going to open that up and make the sweet spot a little bit better. And when it comes to the price of these are $280, and it's going to be my opinion, like it is with every $280 paddle. It depends on you as a viewer. Are you going to want to spend that much money on a paddle that's got a lot of pop and power? Or are you going to try to go a different route and maybe go all-cord or something that's a little bit cheaper? Or a budget option like 11624's Power brand, Power series. There's a bunch of different options out there. It just kind of depends on what you're wanting. If you like the Ronbus Ripple Beta, you're probably going to like this. It's going to be a slightly different feel, but you're probably going to like how this plays. And if you're wanting one of the most powerful paddles in the market, you're probably going to dump money into this. That's just how it is. It depends on you all. For me, this isn't going to be my main paddle, so I wouldn't spend $280 on this one. I personally like the FX Pulsars better, realistically. My brother, though, on the other hand, he will die for the R1 Ripple V2. Like, straight up, he loves that thing. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed this review. Until next time, stay safe, have a good day, drink plenty of water. Peace, y'all.